Welcome back to another video. Clocked Out Sports back at it again. I got Z Shaw and Jay Nice for another video. Obviously, this one's going to be pure Commanders talk, but we also throw in some other segments as well. Hope everyone's doing well. So let's go over the game, John. Went to all the way to Madrid to catch an L to the fucking Miami Dolphins. Tua and Mike McDaniel were playing for their jobs, so they had to win that game. But what are some positive things you saw during the game, John?
Well, first off, I just want to shout out. This is a Payne rookie jersey. I know you can't see the numbers, but he was 95 rookie year. So free Payne, serving the suspension, coming back next week. Had to wear the Payne jersey. But yeah, no, it just two bad teams to be completely honest. It was a shame everyone had to watch that. We're going to watch it as fans, but just not very exciting. Bad football. Both teams just trying to lose and find ways to give the game away. But some positives, like you just said. One thing I say was Jordan McGee. He seems to flash in space. He made some nice tackles on Achane. He was a shifty, elusive back. Has a ton of speed. So McGee, I think, is getting more reps. That's what you want from these young guys in a lost season like this. And I thought he had some nice open field tackles on Achane. We've seen a lot of missed tackles from our defense this season, so it was nice to see a younger guy, tackle an elusive back like that. Other than that, Debo getting in the end zone again, had a nice catch and run. That's what he's good at, those underneath routes, and then kind of, find his way to the end zone and break those tackles. He's not going to be a deep threat, but he can get those underneath routes, crossing routes over the middle, and turn up field. So seems like he was healthier. I think the heel injury, I know I've mentioned it on the pod before, I think that slowed him down a little bit early in the season, even though he wasn't a scratch from the game. I do think it held him back a little bit. He seemed to be a little bit more explosive again when he got the ball in his hands. So I would say offense and defense, those are my positives.
All right, and I completely agree with you. Let's go over what went wrong. Actually, you know what? Let's say positive because I want to say positive. Let's say positive because DQ dialed up very creative and clever blitzes. Jonathan Jones, that sack, very creative. Thank you, DQ. We needed more of that. Joe Witt was not providing creative blitzes. Okay. What else? Is that really the only positive, John? I mean, we could talk about Josh Connerly. We haven't heard his name. So if you don't hear an O-lineman's name, that means he's doing his job. So I'm going to shout out Josh Connerly. First 5 weeks of the season, he was going against some dogs. Burns, Crosby, Micah. And that's tough for any rookie. He's moving from the left to the right. So shout out JC. He's going to be a dog. He's going to be really, really good for us in the very future. God, are there any other positive, John, or am I tripping? I know we got to keep it moving, but is that
Yeah,
it?
no, Mariota until the pick in OT, I thought Mariota played a pretty good game. Honestly, up until that one play. He's a serviceable backup. He kept the ball moving on offense. We got stopped at the goal line there, didn't get any points one drive, and obviously the two missed field goals are killers too. Though the one that could have won you the game, I know it's 56. I think it was 56. Obviously we see how the team felt about those two missed kicks. He's no longer on the team. But
Get that guy out
yeah,
of here, man. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolute garbage. You gotta hit 50 plus as consistently as an NFL kicker. You just have to nowadays. The game has changed. You have new, different NFL balls you use to kick the ball. Your legs are stronger, better weights, nutrition, all that. Actually, I want to shout out the defense for at least having some goal line stands. 4th and goal twice. They held the Dolphins. They tried to run it down our throat and thought we were bitch made. We were for the most part, but at least at the goal line we stepped up and manned up. So I'm very, very happy to see that. Negatives. My God, how many? Mikey, I didn't even know Jalen Lane got hurt. So Mikey Sandistro fumbles the punt return. God, that was awful. I was like, where's Jalen Lane? And then I'm like, oh, he's injured.
That was
Very, that
I
was
think that's
brutal.
that's a yellow card on the production, on the TV crew, on everybody, because no one even knew Jalen Lane got hurt. And your job when you guys are there in the booth, the commentators, the producers, somebody has got to catch that. They got sideline reporters nowadays. Someone's got to let us know, because all of a sudden you see the punt. We're like, oh my God, we got a punt, man. I know I talked about it the other time. We finally see punts, and
Thank
we're
you.
expecting Jalen Lane back there. And then all of a sudden we see Sainer still. We see him sprinting in. It doesn't look good from the start. He misjudged it. Maybe the lights they mentioned with the new stadium, different stadium than what they're used to from in the States. But yeah, we didn't even know Sainer still was back there. And then all of a sudden we see him trying to catch it. The muff, obviously, terrible play, just terrible all around. And yellow card on the production crew for not noting, like you said, Jalen Lane, that he got hurt and wasn't back there.
Love that reference, John. Always keeping it classy. Yellow card. Actually, quick shout out K Madrano, or 6th round pick linebacker. That dude had a nasty tackle on special teams. DQ, get him on the field, man. We lost to the Dolphins. You might as well see what he can do. Can he cover in space? Can he cover linebackers? Tight ends, running backs. Can he make tackles in open space like he did on special teams? Get him on the field, DQ. Okay. Anything else you want to say, John?
Actually, shout out Jonathan Jones. He's also a pilot. He did an event really close to my work in College Park where he kind of flew in and did like a little Q&A. This was before the season. Really classy guy, vet, been around the league, played for Belichick, has a Super Bowl with the Patriots. So shout out Jonathan Jones on that sack. That was great to see.
Love that. Yeah. Thank you for stepping up, Jonathan Jones. So let's talk about a team like the opposite of us, the Seahawks. Sam Darnold throws 4 picks, and yet the Seahawks were basically in the game. They could have won that game. Any other team throws 4 picks, they're losing. But the reason why I bring this up is because that it shows how good that roster is. Young, fast, twitchy. And the only problem holding that team back is a Sam Darnold performance like that. But even with 4 picks, you're still in the game. So the Seahawks are just the complete opposite of us. And this is why I want to bring this up, is because they hired Mike Macdonald, and we were looking at Mike Macdonald, right? But the problem was the Lions were in the NFC Championship game, and we were waiting on Ben Johnson to finish, right? Mike McDonald flies to Seattle during the practice week, during that span before the NFC Championship game, and the Seahawks were not letting him leave the building until he put ink to paper. He signed that contract with his initials. And that's why he was hired by the Seahawks. Listen, the practice field is on the water. They have a really young, great roster. They have a great GM, great owner. We could have hired him. I think he could have came to Washington. Do you regret AP not being more aggressive in pursuing Mike Macdonald?
Yes and no. Excuse me. I think it makes you a lot of pundits or media was saying to go for offense, right? Go for an offensive minded head coach. You have Jaden Daniels, you have your quarterback. I just, I mean, when you hire defense, and then you have a defensive minded head coach and you have a younger defensive minded head coach doing really well in Seattle, it's easy to look back and say, man, that was probably a mistake. But it's no secret that Ben Johnson was the number one choice. That's why we waited. We're trying to go offense, didn't work out, and then you got the leftovers. So I can't fault them just because I think they were trying to go an offensive-minded coach was kind of the first choice there, at least just from what I'm speculating. And it didn't work out, and Dan Quinn was the best of what was kind of left with the candidates that we had to pick from. But obviously in Seattle, it's working out great. They went with a younger coach in general, defensive-minded, but he's got the defense humming. They got a great D-line. As we know, a lot of football games are won in the trenches, offense and defense. And no, even with, like you said, even with 4 interceptions, most teams are out of that game. You're losing by at least three scores. And Seattle was right there at the end with literally a kick to win it. Deep kick, but they had a possession right there to come down the field and get that game-winning field goal. So credit to the team and credit to the defense for keeping them in it after a poor performance from Darnold, who's had a really great season overall, though.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Ben Johnson was definitely number one. He had these pundits saying Ben Johnson to the Commanders was a lock. And you know what? Me thinking about it and seeing how successful the Bears are, how creative Ben Johnson is, I'm still like a little frustrated because of the way our season went, right? We put belt to ass on the Lions in the playoffs last year, sent Ben Johnson home packing a couple games early than what they wanted, right? But they were never going to beat the Eagles because of the injuries. But then Ben Johnson goes to the Bears, a dysfunctional organization for years, defensive minded, very old school, very like slow in the modern era. And he's changed everything. The Bears are winning games close, they're winning ugly. And Ben Johnson, we all think he's cute and just creative. He's actually a very tough guy, like another Sean McVay. And it just makes me mad because like I can't believe he spurned us while we were on the way to interview him when we passed over Mike Macdonald, other offensive coaches. I know one name comes to mind. I know he just got fired. It was Brian Callahan. I always thought maybe we could have interviewed him. But it's like, bro, like we had the perfect setup for you. Like AP is a better GM than Ryan Poles. Like There was an interview with Ben Johnson, and someone asked him, "What do you think of AP?" And Ben Johnson's smiling ear to ear about that because he knows how smart AP is. And we would have given Ben Johnson the keys to the kingdom. We would have said, "Hey, play out. We'll give you 5 years guaranteed because we want an offensive guy like Sean McVay. We want to give you a shot. We weren't going to fire you after 3 years. Hell no. I don't care how bad it got. We were going to give you 5 years, in my opinion. So that's why I'm still frustrated by the Ben
The
Johnson situation.
no, the one thing I'll push back on is I don't know, based on his pedigree, his head coach experience. Obviously, we know Ben Johnson's got a great offensive mind. He would have, probably done wonders to our offense, been super creative with Jalen. But I don't know if Ben Johnson would have been the guy to create that brotherhood, that team unity, that culture that you heard all the guys talk about last season. I think, I don't know if he's necessarily a player's coach yet, just because he's so young in his head coaching career. So I think in terms of just coming out of that Snyder regime and changing the whole environment, the culture, getting the fan base back to having a home stadium crowd for the most part, I think Dan Quinn was the right guy for the culture move. I hate saying that because the whole Bruce Allen quote, "The culture's damn good,"
Yes.
but I do think that Quinn was a big help in changing the culture in the overall stigma with the organization from top to bottom. And obviously Josh Harris, Mark Guy, all the owners as well. That has to do with it as well. But I do think Quinn, just in terms of that stigma, that negative, like just everything around the organization, I don't know if Ben Johnson would have been able to provide that as much as Dan Quinn has been able to. That's just, and like I said, that's just my opinion. That's just me speculating. But obviously Ben Johnson would have been cooking with the offense.
You know what? John Kime, the Commanders reporter, did say that DQ was not third or fourth. He was definitely highly considered to be the head coach. And listen, it sounds like I'm hating on DQ. I don't hate DQ. I'm just frustrated with the way the season went, and obviously DQ's in charge, so responsibility falls on him. And he made the change way too late with Joe Witt. Joe Witt has to go. You have to fire him next year because if DQ doesn't want to burn out, hire someone on the outside to come in and fix our defense. Because it's just so bad. Even the Dolphins were as much credit I gave on the goal line stands. Achan was still running all over us throughout most of the game. So it's
For
like,
sure.
oh my God, it was just still awful.
The one thing I'll say is you didn't see, obviously the corner blitz we touched on Jones with the sack. That's like that's very elementary and basic, but hey, it was something different we hadn't seen in weeks. And the one thing I will say, you didn't see the big like deep pass, the big play. It seemed like Quinn was he didn't want anyone to get behind them. Obviously, Waddle and HN, they had some speed. It never felt like there was a missed assignment or like there was a guy running wide open like 30 yards down the field. They were only running wide open maybe 10 or 15. So little wins like that where we could see that we didn't get beat with the big deep shot or that one big 70-yard play. It seemed like it was kind of like a bend don't break type of defense. And then at the goal line, we did stuff them twice from. And I'm not sure if you saw in the broadcast, they were 13 of 13 on goal to go drives, ending with a touchdown. And then in that game, they were 0 for 2. So, shout out Goldman, had some nice run stuffs. Kinlaw at the goal line. I think Wagner kind of helped Kinlaw on the one, kind of keep Achan stood up at the one and kept him out.
That was the last play, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, they had their moments. We didn't get beat with the big play down the field. We didn't see these blown coverages, missed assignments, not as many missed tackles in the open field. But yeah, I mean, if they score on those goal to go drives, instead of scoring 13 that they had in regulation, they're already at 27 right there. If they get 7-7, so they still had chances to score. Like you said, HM was still running for 7 yards of carry. So the change should have been made a lot sooner. The one thing I will say too, Z, I don't know if you noticed it, but Dan Quinn seemed to be more engaged calling the plays on defense. He was like running up and celebrating, running up and down the field, high-fiving guys. And, I like when that coach has energy. I know it's like they got to be stoic and somewhat. I totally get it. But, when you're trying to provide energy and you want to play for your coach and your coach is just standing there like Ron Rivera, arms crossed, doesn't even look like he knows what's going on. Yeah, there you go, Z, exactly. It doesn't give off like a, hey, I care. This isn't okay. Let's go. Let's get some energy. So I did like seeing Dan Quinn more engaged and on the sidelines, celebrating with the guys and the players. But, it was better in some areas. It wasn't perfect, but you just wish that this change could have come sooner too.
Absolutely. And just there's the theory on Reddit when Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and Scott Turner were on the staff is that Rivera is actually a calm, stoic guy. Del Rio's actually a calm, stoic guy. Scott Turner, a calm, stoic guy. So it's like if you're gonna have a calm, stoic head coach, you have to have like an energetic, like hair on fire, kind of like Kelvin Shepard or Dan Campbell-esque defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator. Something to just change the mood, change the pace, because you need those contrasting personalities to kind of mesh and blend with the team, right? Like if I'm like Darvin Ham's a great example. Hands in pockets the whole time. He's like this. Like looks like he doesn't care. JJ Redick like hair on fire, shouting, faces all red, swearing at everyone. Get the fuck in here. What the fuck are you doing? He cares. And you got to see that. Joe Witt looks like he didn't give a shit. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right. Let's segue off Commanders talk. We talked a lot. We're going to talk more when the offseason comes because that's when the real interesting storylines are going to come from us. Chiefs lost to the Broncos. They're 5-5. Do you think the Chiefs can still make the playoffs?
It's hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid. I don't care what the record says. I think they're like maybe 1 or 2 games out of the wild card race. I know they're not in the playoffs if it started tomorrow. So it's just hard to bet against the Chiefs. Divisional games are always going to be closer no matter the records, no matter what kind of year Denver's having. Denver's a tough place to play, even if you are a divisional opponent and you're familiar with playing there. For me, it's hard to bet against. It's just hard for me to bet against the Chiefs. I would still think they make it, and even if they make it as the 7th seed, I don't think anyone wants to play them, right? I don't think you want to see those teams that have that playoff pedigree in your side of the bracket, or when you make playoffs. You want to see those. There's going to be a lot of teams that don't have playoff experience in recent years: Patriots, Broncos, Colts. So if you're one of those teams that ends up as the 2 seed and you got to see Kansas City as a 7, I don't know. I think you're a little bit scared if you're that fan base that the Chiefs just find those ways to win when it matters late in the season.
Oh, and 100%. I'll never doubt the Chiefs no matter what. They could be 0-7 right now, and I'll still bet on them. Interesting thing, Jay always says that Eagles broke the Chiefs this year. And there was a clip on Sunday Night Football. I think Jason McCourtney said something like, when the Eagles beat the Chiefs, they lost some aura. I don't think Jason McCourtney's statement is related to Jay's, but do you think the Eagles in some way broke the Chiefs or maybe found the blueprint to beating the Chiefs?
I think they might have found the blueprint. I think in the NFL we see a lot where the more you have film on you, the more you're in the league. Teams are going to study. Everyone studies. Everyone gets paid to go out there and do a good job and watch film. So I think, the Kelsey's only getting older, right? He's got the T Swift and all the off the field stuff, and he's only getting older. The Rashee Rice suspension to start the season, you don't have all your pieces. Worthy's been banged up. I think it was the first game of the season because I had him in fantasy, of course. Kelsey, hits him on just a freak, middle crossers. They hit each other. He's shoulder injury. He's in and out of the lineup. So they've had to deal with injuries, which, a lot of teams do, as we know. So, no excuses. But I do think we don't have all your pieces clicking from day one. It can throw you off a little bit. It's hard to bet against them. I do think that maybe the Eagles knocked them off a little bit, but I don't necessarily know if they broke them necessarily. It's not like they're 3-7 or like a 2-win team this year. They're still 5-5. They've had some close losses that could have easily gone their way. They could be 7-3 instead of 5-5. But it's just life in the NFL. It's just one play here and there. It's still going to be hard to bet against Reid, Mahomes, and as we know, and maybe I think everyone knows at this point, but the refs seem to always there's teams that the refs always seem to favor, and the Chiefs are one of them. So if it's a 3rd and 19, they're going to give you a pass interference like they did on Sunday against Denver on pretty much a no call type of play, right? I think the language in the rule book is like significantly hinders or causes the word is like significant. If you any casual 50-50 viewer there could watch that and see it's a no call. And offensive anything. I forget who the receiver was, but the Chiefs always seem to get that benefit of a questionable call, to kind of bail them out. So it's just hard to bet against the Chiefs because the refs are going to give them a couple calls here and there too.
Always. I think the Chiefs do a great job of manipulating the rules. But let's stay on the Eagles for a little bit. I kind of want to jump ahead in our list. Let's talk about that Jalen Hurts article. Multiple Eagles players reported frustrated by Diana Rossini the Saturday before the Eagles-Lions game. So, John, I have a few questions. Who do you think leaked it? Why? And why the timing on Saturday before Sunday Night Football?
All great questions. Shout out to Anna Rossini. She used to be the local News 4, NBC 4 for here in DC doing the Redskins reporting or Commanders, Washington, whatever we were called when she was here.
Hmm.
But no, it's interesting timing. You do see the Eagles games. Just I don't watch every minute. Obviously, I watch most of the games that are on the national broadcast. Their Monday night, their Sunday night game these last 2 weeks, and yeah, I mean their defense is winning these games for them, right? The offense doesn't look like you'd be scared to play them if it came to playoff time right now. I don't think you're expecting to. They're averaging what do they score like 10? They won 10-7, and then they won with was it 16-6 or something? So
They're like they lead the league in three and outs. With that offense and that roster is actually inexcusable. How do Titans have less three and outs than the Eagles? You know.
it's a good point. That's very true.
Let me
You'd have to think
go
it
ahead.
was somebody. No, sorry, Z.
No,
You'd
no,
have to
go ahead,
think
go
it was
ahead.
somebody inside the building that leaked it. You don't want to say AJ Brown. I know he gets painted as the villain, and the media always wants to run with something. But I think a lot of the players are going to be frustrated when you're averaging 13 points a game with the players that they have on offense, and it's just hard to. I mean, I know defense wins championships, but if your offense is leading the league in three and outs, and you're not scoring more than 13 a game, and it's just going to be hard to win. And I think the defense can have one bad game, and then your offense, the offense right now isn't picking up their defense, and their defense is keeping them in it. So, come playoff time, you're going to have the offense score a little bit. Maybe they get a short field because their defense can force a turnover. I know they got a field goal off of one of Goff's tipped interceptions, I think, early in that game Sunday night. But no, I'd be a little bit worried. They must be like, I think, what are they, 8-2 now? They got to be one of the least like scary 8-2 teams I've seen in recent years, just because the offense just isn't humming, it isn't clicking, and they have the players that you would think should be putting up more points than what they are. I think you got to look at play calling, you got to look at the quarterback. Are they not stretching the field? Yeah, it's definitely. I'd be a little bit alarmed if I was an Eagles fan.
Let me throw you a theory, John, on why this article came out. Who leaked it? I don't think it was AJ Brown because AJ Brown has been very vocal and he's one of their best players, a team captain. So if he leaked it, it would look terrible for him. He's trying to get a third contract. I think a guy who leaked it is someone like Jahan Dotson. Shout out Jahan Dotson, our former first round pick for Washington. But listen, Jahan Dotson won a ring. He's on his rookie contract. He's looking for his second contract. He's looking for the bag, generational wealth. And if he's not getting targets, if he's not getting touches, yards, and touchdowns, he's not going to get that second contract from the Eagles or any other team looking at him. So I think he was frustrated, called his agent and said, "This is some bullshit. I'm not getting my touches. AJ Brown's not getting his touches. Devontae Smith is not getting his touches. I'm not getting my touches. I have my ring. I'm good. I want money." It comes down to money. That's the thing people forget about professional sports. This is why people do not sacrifice anything. Because one injury, one bad year can mean the money runs out, and then you have to get a normal job or hope all that money you made in your pro career lasts the rest of your life. And I get it. I understand it. It's a fucking business. So I think Jahan Dotson is one of the players that leaked it. It could also be someone like Will Shipley or Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby probably wants that second contract, that big deal coming in. It's probably a receiver or running back. That's what I think. Timing, right before the game. Maybe to light a fire under Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni's ass, or even maybe Jalen Hurts. Like, hey, bro, throw the ball. There are too many instances, and I keep bringing this up. I know Jalen Hurts wins. He wins ugly. But Jalen Hurts misses too many throws. There was one play, he was scrambling. Look at me, a casual guy, casual fan, telling Hurts what to do. But if you just look at the tape, he misses throws. AJ Brown was wide open, cutting across the middle on an L cut. I know there's a pass rush. Hurts steps up and scrambles left instead of just staying in the pocket for a beat and then zipping it to AJ Brown. Brown was wide open. I think an elite quarterback makes that play. And a good quarterback makes something out of nothing, which he did. It was an 8-yard gain, but it could have been a touchdown. And there are a couple instances against the Giants. There was one play, it was 3rd and 12. They were on their 10-yard line. Giants rush 4. 2 of them go down. I think it was Dexter Lawrence and Abdul Carter. They get pancaked. They're on the ground. Jahan Dotson is open in the middle if Hurts throws it with timing and anticipation. But instead, Hurts scrambles to the left and throws a check down to Saquon. And the Eagles punt instead of getting a first down. It's like, why would you scramble when 2 guys are pancaked on the ground? You know what I mean? If this
for
is
sure.
if this is a 2023 year, I'm happy. Keep on doing good, just good enough to be in the middle, like make the playoffs and then lose in the first, second, maybe NFC Championship game. You know, keep Kevin Patullo around. I mean, John, what do you think of that theory, though?
No, I think you're 100%. It's got to be somebody on that offense that needs that second contract or that, on expiring deal. And if the offense isn't clicking and, you're not the first or second guy or you're behind somebody else, and you're three and outs, you're not getting touches, you're not getting a chance to get on the field. So definitely, a valid theory in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's talk about these young guys. Lots of disciplinary issues going on. Abdul Carter apparently missed a walkthrough. Bench in the first quarter. Keon Coleman late to a meeting and was a healthy scratch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this is the discussion I want to have. Are young players less disciplined nowadays, or is it just more visible due to social media and everyone reporting nowadays?
It's a good question. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think we have more access than we've ever had to these teams, to with social media, with all these channels and avenues to get news, and there's eyeballs everywhere. So I do think that has a little bit to do with it. But I think accountability is important. I don't think anyone should be above the rules. Even at my own job, I think we all need to be held accountable to a certain standard, right? So at any level of professional work, I think accountability goes a long way. And I think it's good to get these messages out that hey, these guys are big name players. Even Pickens and CeeDee Lamb last night, bench for the first series. So you're trying to set a tone and accountability to everyone else on your roster. If you have somebody that's not following the team rules, doesn't matter if they're number 1 or number 53 on that roster and depth chart. They got to be held to the same standard, and the coach needs to lay down that example to set that tone for the rest of the team that we all need to follow these rules. So I think it's probably a little bit of both, and I think it's good for coaches to get it out there, get it public, right? That's how people are going to learn a lesson. If it just kind of gets brushed under the rug or it doesn't get talked about, I don't think you learn from that to better yourself and move forward.
Actually, I forgot one question. I got to go back to the Eagles article with Jalen Hurts. Do you think it's a nothing burger, or it's actually been a pattern and it's actually a cause for an alarm, cause for
I,
concern?
I think it's a Big Mac, Z. I think it's a Big Mac. I think it's a big burger. I think it's a quarter pounder with cheese. It's a Big Mac. It's whatever
Yes!
it's whatever you want to call it. I think I think you got to be frustrated if you're on that team, right? Your quarterback isn't. They're not either trusting themselves to make the throw, or they're not calling the plays to open up the offense and stretch the field. So I think it's definitely a big burger for sure.
Hell yeah, love that, love that. Love to see it as Commanders fans. We gotta get the small wins when we can. All right. College football. Virginia Tech hiring James Franklin. Is this a good hire for V Tech? We're keeping it in the DMV, folks.
Yeah, I think it is. I think he was at
Penn State.
Maryland, or he was supposed to come to Maryland.
Oh, yeah,
There
I
was
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, there was some talk back in the day. I believe so. I know he's got some history with Loxley a little bit when Maryland played Penn State. And he would run up the score on us. And Maryland football hasn't been super strong or any powerhouse by any means the last maybe 5-6 years. But no, I think he never seems to win the big game. But if you're Virginia Tech, I think just on name alone, you're happy that you got a proven coach. Even if he has struggled in the big game, at least he can get you to a big game and get you in the national conversation. So I think the big thing is going to come down to how much NIL money that program has, and the type of level of player that he can bring in to reignite that fan base for sure.
Definitely a good recruiter, definitely a good coach. Can't beat the big dogs, but as Virginia Tech, if you win the ACC, that's all they'll care about. That's their natty. So just win the ACC, you'll be straight. And John, we're coming to the end, but if you want to shout out Maryland basketball, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I got my Maryland hat on right now. I got my free Payne rookie jersey on tonight. But yeah, no, Maryland basketball, I just wanted to shout out. I had a really gritty win over the weekend against Marquette, at Marquette. Talented team. It's early in the season. It's hard to know if they're going to be a tournament team, but anytime you can win on the road in college basketball, it's a good win. And, I just want to thoughts and prayers to Pharrell Payne. He had a freak kind of hip injury on a dunk, slipped on someone else's kind of foot. It was just a freak play. Gruesome, hard to watch. He goes down in pain, gets taken off on a stretcher. We don't know the severity of the injury, or I don't think how long he's obviously going to miss some time. I don't know how much it, or if he's going to have to take a red shirt, but just wanted to shout out Maryland basketball because they had a really nice win on the road at Marquette. Especially, I think Payne went down late second half. They were down 5 at the time. They went on like a 17-6 run after that. Played for their teammate. Got a gritty win, and hopefully they can get some health and some players back moving forward. Hopefully Jake Moody can make his kicks like he did against us when we played the Bears.
I know. Well, you signed the guy who beat us. Seriously. Oh, I did see this. Did see this article, 5 plays that changed the Commanders' season. Number 1 was Jaden Daniels' elbow injury against Seattle. Number 2 was the Terry McLaurin quad injury against the Raiders. Number 3 was the fumble against the Bears on 4th and 1. Number 4, it was the Cowboys' late touchdown against us in the second quarter when we scored with like a minute left, and then they came down and scored. I think Dak got sacked. Then Dak threw a dime to George Pickens. Good coverage by Lattimore, but just a better throw and catch, and then they scored. Oh, apparently the slip counts because Zach Ertz slipped against Miami. That kind of I blocked. Yeah. It's the same play Zach Ertz did against Atlanta, and he scored that touchdown to get us to the playoffs, but Ertz slips. So those are the 5 big plays, I would say.
No, I agree totally with all those plays. I forgot about the Dallas one. That was, still a point in the season where you could have won that game and still been in the hunt and kind of in the conversation. And yeah, just the defense giving up a late score. Those similar in hockey. In hockey they always say the goals in the first minute or the last minute can really, or I think it's mainly the last minute of a period, can really kind of change that momentum. And any score, that last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half in any sport is so crucial. And with our offense coming down and scoring such a nice drive, and I forgot about that Dallas late touchdown. It's just a backbreaker, right? Your defense couldn't hold him out to get some momentum going into half. And yeah, I mean, I think those plays definitely you can look at almost any single game, right, Z, and be like, these 5 plays determine the outcome of the game. But you do that broader look in the season, and for sure that I think the Jaden fumble, I think the Bears game both seasons kind of led both teams to kind of up and down both way, one or the other. And I think the Bears are leading the division now since the Packers have that stupid tie on the record. So it's going to be, a wild finish in that division and, the last half of the season. But
any Bears fans watching this right now, you did not break our season. We broke you last year with the Hail Mary. First of all, every team wins off a last-second field goal. That's nothing special. Number 2, last year, you didn't win a game till the final week, and you fired your OC and your head coach. And Caleb Williams lost all his confidence. But seriously, you did not break us. It was injuries and bad plays that broke us. And Joe Witt.
No, for sure. It was definitely one play that changed a lot of the just feeling and like, man, we let a game slip. But at the end of the day, that game wasn't going to, all the injuries, the Jaden injury, there was a lot more that broke the season. But 100% last year, the Bears game for them completely ended their season. And Eberflus's head coaching career, right? It completely changed the entire everything, right? Everything just changed for them on that one play. So, yeah, totally different. But, that game and that play just for me kind of lost like the air in the building kind of went out for me with this season with the Commanders. And, it didn't help with the defense, with the injuries, everything else piling on. But, for Bears fans to say that they broke us this season, it's one reason in a long list. It's not like you can go back to one single play last year on that Hail Mary, and that's just a once in a lifetime way to win a game if we're, as a fan too.
And that game, that ball and those gloves by Noah Brown are in the Hall of Fame. So Bears fans, you suck.
You sure Jake Moody's cleats not in the Hall of Fame with a big week 5, week 6 win?
Yeah, Bears fans, is cleats in it? You cut him, so he must be so good, right? All right, John. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos. Let us know in the comments down below what we should talk about next. I'm Z Shaw.
I'm Jay Nice.
All right. In the meantime, deuces.